Welcome to 위대한 수업, Great Minds. I am David Shambaugh, and I'm Professor of Asian Studies, Political Science, and International Affairs, and Director of the China Policy Program at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. In this episode, we will discuss China's fourth major leader since 1949, Huijintao. Huijintao assumed the top twin positions of Party General Secretary at the 16th Party Congress in November 2002, and he became President of the People's Republic of China at the National People's Congress in March 2003. You know, by the time he assumed power, he had had a career in the provinces, not particularly distinguished. He'd worked in 3 different provinces, in Gansu in the very far west of the country, a very arid, remote place adjacent to Tibet. Actually, he served in an even more remote place called Guizhou in the southwest of the country, China's poorest province. Then he was transferred to Tibet. So he had years in those 3 places, impoverished places, one has to say, not coastal, well-to-do provinces, interior, underdeveloped, even poor provinces. So by the time he assumes power in 2002, he's had much more exposure to the countryside, the interior of China than Jiang Zemin ever had, which is a good thing, and as I have indicated, I think it did affect his approach to policies. Well, at the end of his 10 years in power, his rule, together with Premier Wen Jiabao, and it has to be considered that China during those 10 years was really run by the 2 of them, Huijintao and Wen Jiabao. But at the end of their tenure, after a decade, many Chinese referred to this as 10 lost years, a lost decade. Personally, I think this description may in fact be unfair. Some important policy initiatives were launched, and some things were certainly accomplished under their watch, notably in social policy, in party reform, and in foreign policy. But the verdict of few accomplishments and little impact remains the prevalent perception, both inside and outside of China, of Huijintao to this day. Above all, I think Huijintao's tenure was in fact marked by several accomplishments. First was a marked shift, a distinct shift in policy emphasis away from the growth at all costs economic calculus and bias towards coastal China that characterized the Jiang Zemin era. Jiang Zemin preferred and lavished resources upon the coast. Huijintao, the opposite orientation, the interior of China. And he emphasized the inland Chinese provinces, and he stressed issues such as social equality, social justice, improving basic living standards and social services, environmental protection, poverty alleviation, reducing the burdens on farmers, public safety, and anti-corruption work, job retraining for people, particularly from the state industrial sector, to gain skills to work in other sectors, and other so-called public goods. This is a very commendable and progressive agenda. Even though it was publicly popular and it was well received during Huijintao's first term, his first 5-year term, the implementation of this agenda floundered, really, it has to be said, during his second term. So he started off well, did not finish well. Now, with the passage of time, perhaps with more retrospect, Hujintao's historical reputation may be burnished for the better. I think his tenure, in fact, was noteworthy for its stability, its predictability,